Hi everyone, you're watching The Tattooed Psychic. Thank you for tuning in today. Today I want to talk about women who have survived trauma and how even though years later it can still get triggered emotionally, the emotions around the healing and recovery process of abuse. So I want to tell you a little bit about my story because even though you might get bits and pieces of it throughout my podcast, and I often think, do I really need to live the past and keep talking about the past and what happened to me? But I think sometimes I do, and sometimes you do need to get more in detail about your journey so people can understand more that how deep it can get. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of women have been in abusive relationships, whether it be physically or mentally, spiritually, and so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and the things that have happened to me, particularly with one person in my life who almost killed me, really. And so let's talk about the journey. My whole life has been abuse, and I don't say that just, oh, feel sorry for me. I say that so you understand that abuse for me is something that I grew up with. It is something that I had been used to my whole life. I'd been sexually abused, physically abused, mentally abused, spiritually abused. My mother did not want me. She let me know she didn't. She abandoned me when I was a little girl, abandoned all of my brothers and sisters, but she ended up getting my sister back. I think, I don't know the whole story. I was little, but because I know my sister lived with her till her dying day. So I think so anyway. And my mother died this year, so that's a whole nother podcast. But this podcast is about abuse. And so that abuse started emotionally at a young age, and then when I went into foster homes, it became sexual abuse and physical abuse and whatnot. I had a couple good receiving homes, and if you don't know what receiving homes, back in the 1970s, those were homes you just stayed a few days and nights just to, until they found a permanent home for you in foster care. And I had one particular foster home that was extremely abusive. The man was sexually assaulting me, weekly, almost every day. And his wife would go to Weight Watchers meetings. I remember this specifically. And he would drink a box of wine, that box wine. And he would get drunk and drag me into the bathroom. And I'm not going to go into detail there, but abuse happened to me a lot. And so normally, when that happens, right, you are programmed as a child. We program children at a young age to receive love, or whatever environment they're in is that's how they're going to program themselves, right? And so I learned to program myself in abuse and trauma and stress and survival mode since I was 3-4 years old that I can remember. And as I became a woman, I ended up being with abusive men, and men who lied to me, cheated on me. To this day, I don't even date anymore. And I'm bisexual, so I prefer women at this point in my life, but even dating women is funny. Women aren't abusive to me. It's more, they just want to talk about their exes all the time, and I'm just not into that either. So I just stay alone. But when I was dating men, it was always the wrong. They were just horrible to me. Even to this point when I did all this healing and spiritual journeying, got sober, and was completely honest with somebody, they were lying and cheating behind my back. It was the craziest thing in the world to me that people are like that, but they are. And so I've been abused physically by men, to my black and blue face. And then I met my husband, and the man in Austin, Texas, as I call him, the dark spirit that guided me away. And he was very much a narcissist when I look back. But you know how narcissists are very charming and cute and charismatic, and everyone thinks they're great, right? And in public he was like that, but behind closed doors he was very abusive, spiritually, mentally at first, and then it became physical. And I won't go into every single fight, every single thing, but I would fight back. Like, that's who I was, right? Even as a psychic medium healer, he brought me back to that point of, oh, little girl survival, right? And now when I look back, he was brought to my life for a reason, to really help me grow, and that's a whole nother journey we'll get to at the end. But what happened was I ended up with this complete narcissistic, alcoholic, lying, cheating, just disgusting human being. And that was my fault, and I take responsibility. And I ended up marrying him, but that's not even the crazy part. I mean, my honeymoon, this is a true story. My honeymoon was spent me running through the French Quarter, and I don't know if y'all have ever been to the French Quarter, but there's those one-way streets, and he's chasing me. I've got my bags. Claudia, my friend of years, is in her van with her husband, or I think it was maybe a friend, I can't even remember, but they're trying to find me because I'm on the phone going, I'm over here. Finally I get to the place where all the trolleys are, all the horse carriages are, and I see the van coming, and she opens the door, and everyone's watching because my husband is chasing me, screaming, and I do a drop and roll into the van like a movie, right? That was my honeymoon. Yeah. I should have bailed then, but no, the great healer in Faye, right? I always try to heal these men, right? Always try to heal them, make them better. But look how much I love you, right? Like, and I know some of you have done that. We just do. We're women, and men have done it too. But I'm talking as a woman. We have these big hearts, and we want them to love us. And they're so nice to us in the beginning, right? So charming, so lovely. And then craziness shows. And so, and I found myself becoming as crazy as he was, not stalking him or beating him or anything like that, but just defense mechanism. Well, long story short, he was an alcoholic. I after New Orleans, I tried to get him help. I don't even know what happened. It was all so crazy. And then he did go into rehab, and his ex-wife, she hated my guts, which I don't know, whatever. And they had a little boy, and she taught him to hate me, which was really great. And it was just a horrible experience any way you look at it. And one night on January 11th, my birthday, he had been gone for days. He had relapsed. He had gotten out of rehab and then relapsed, and he decided to relapse on my birthday. He was bragging about it on Facebook. He was on 6th Street drinking. And I was like, oh, great, he relapsed. I hope he just stays away from me. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. What happened was I got home from walking my dog, and he's on the porch playing loud music at like 10:30 at night. And I said, oh no. And he's just drunk off his ass. And I said, oh no, you have to leave. I'm not going to put up with this. And he instantly, fuck you, you fucking cunt, the typical abuser. And I went and I turned around because I was like, oh, fuck this, I'm going to leave, and I'm calling the police. I had the phone. Let's pretend my tarot deck is the phone. You guys are getting detailed. This is crazy shit, though. I had my phone like this, and I was getting ready to call 911. And he comes up from behind me, jumps on top of me. Now, he wasn't a big guy. He was tall, and he had, he was strong, but he wasn't like huge. And I was actually bigger than him, and I thought I could fight him off. Oh no, mamas and papas, you'd be surprised what can happen. He had taken my neck and pushed it into my chest so I couldn't breathe. And then he starts just pounding the back of my head. And I remember I couldn't breathe, and he was suffocating me that way. And sorry. And I remember my last thought being, my son's going to be very mad. Because this guy killed me. That was my last thought. And then I woke up and it was funny because I found myself like, I thought I was dead. And I'm a psychic medium, right? So I was expecting the light, the spirit guides, all that. But instead, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I take a breath. I ended up in like this black room. And I remember standing there going, oh, great. This is fucked. You know what I mean? Now, how am I going to get out of here? Because I didn't feel like there was a way out. And all of a sudden then, I remember feeling like a weight lifted off of me, and then I woke up and there was these beautiful police officers there, and the ambulance was on the way, and there you go. And then I spent the next 8 months, I couldn't put my head on a pillow. I mean, there was so much damage to the back of my head, and nobody helped me, and I would crawl. This is a funny thing. I look back and I say, oh, this is funny, but it's not funny. It's horrible. But when I look back at it, the way I had to heal myself was an interesting story. I mean, I was traumatized, and I could feel it inside. My spirit was gone. I was dead inside. I just was existing at that point. I would get into my car with my little dog Beans, who passed away a couple years ago, and I miss him terribly, but we would get in the car, and he was my best friend. And my apartment was here in Whataburger. If you all know Whataburger, you know it's good. All right, y'all know Whataburger is good, and I wish they'd get a Whataburger in Seattle. But anyway, Whataburger was here, my apartment was here, Whataburger was here, and I'd get in my car, and I'd just drive to the Whataburger drive-thru in the morning, grab my biscuits and gravy, and then I'd grab a hamburger for lunch and a shake and all that, put it in the fridge, and then I would eat it, and that was my meal. Those were my meals until I could get back on my feet. And then, not only that, there was the whole legal thing then, and I left that part out. That night, they had asked me who had done this, and I was able to tell them, and it was my ex-husband, and they wanted a picture. They took my phone, and there was a picture of him on there, and the police officer said, I actually just saw this guy walking down the street, and he left, and they couldn't find him. They came back, and they left officers and ambulance there with me, of course, and then that guy, the police officer, looked at me, and I will tell you this, I had the best experience with the police officers of Austin, Texas. They were the kindest human beings, honestly, they were. And the police officer looked at me, and he said, I'm going to get this guy tonight, I promise you. And I'll never forget that, because he clearly just despised men who abused women. He just saw what he did to me and was like, what the fuck, you know? Like, he didn't say that, but he was determined to get him. And then his partner came to me and said that her partner, and she was beautiful. All the cops were hot, too, and I was like, Jesus. You know, I went through hell, but man, these angels came along, and she was beautiful, beautiful blonde police officer. And she said that her partner got him. And of course he denied everything. He denied absolutely everything. And the weird part was the police officer let him. I could hear them downstairs, and he was just denying absolutely everything. And the police officer let him, and he goes, okay, get in the car. Like, it was just like, okay, you can vent this out, but I saw what you did. You're still going to jail. You know, I don't believe you. And it was up for the judge to decide, and then that all went to court, and I don't know what happened. I got a call that he was in jail, and they said he was trying to bail out, and they said, do you feel safe? I said no, and then that pissed him off even more, because they kept him in jail, and then the police would check in on me, and it was a whole thing, you know. And then when he got out of jail, he still would try to attack me. I'd be in a bar, and he'd shove me. I was at a Melvin's concert. He tried to throw me over a balcony. He attacked me there. I mean, it was crazy. I became known as the Melvin's girl in Austin. Crazy shit, right? But that was just one guy. But he was the most dramatic who tried to kill me. But I've been beaten by men before. This was just the final physical beating I ever took in my life from a man, and I will never do it again. I will literally stand up for myself now, and that's part of the healing journey, right? But that's what I had to overcome. And that's coming from a woman who was a spiritual medium, healing people for years, well respected in the community as far as a healer goes. Some people hated me, but you know, people hate each other. It's just part of life. And he socially bashed me, continually haunted me, literally till the day he died. And when he died, the first thing my daughter said was, well, now you don't have to look over your back anymore, Mama. And honestly, and this might sound mean to some people, I was glad he was dead, because she was right. I could be free. I could be free. And when he died, everyone was like, he was such a great guy, and I just wanted to scream, oh my God, he was a narcissistic abuser, female hater. I mean, he was just awful. And mean. And I could see why they were convinced he was a good guy, because narcissists are like that. They present themselves in public as good guys. And women out there who have survived narcissists know what I'm talking about. And women are narcissists too. Here's the thing. We're all narcissistic, right? We are. It's just in us. But it's the levels and degrees that are different. And some are just full on, and he was full on narcissist. He had all the check, you know. But my experience then became worse, because then I ended up with another addict who tried to kill, you know, not tried to kill me, but killed himself, you know, and hated himself, but not, you know, he never attacked me. So I thought everything was great. No, it wasn't. So there are many things that I've had to overcome in my journey. And one of them was the abuse that was happening my whole life. But you have to understand, okay, a woman who's never been abused might not step into, you know, might see that narcissistic behavior a little bit quicker and go, oh, he's abusive, I'm stepping away. And I know women who do that, and I'm like, you must have never been abused. No, never. I would never put up with it. And that's great. I mean, God, I wish I was that lucky. And so, but the ones that have, you just want somebody to love you, and a narcissist will come in and charm you, right? They see your light and they want a part of that. And they usually go after strong women, by the way, because they want that strength. They want to be, that's a good target for them to destroy, you know? And that's what happened to me. And so for the past, and I've tried to date, it just doesn't work. Like, just does not work. The men my age are so fucked up, and no offense to them, none at all, but they are, and they're not. A lot of them aren't healing, some are, which is great, but I'm just not attracted to that anymore. I'm not attracted to that anymore. I don't know what happened. I was just done with it. But I'm not attracted to men anymore. I mean, like, in that way. I like them as friends. I want to hang out and do things, but I just don't find it necessary to have a relationship in my life. And part of it is probably because of all the abuse and trauma. But what I've learned in the past 5 years in getting sober, and then I went to New Orleans, and you know, it was just trying to find myself, but couldn't, you know, and relapsed, and then had to go in to recovery and all that. That's a whole other story. But I just wanted to die at that point, you know, and so just slowly kill myself, I guess. And luckily my son came in and helped me out and pretty much saved my life. I love that kid. And so the trauma that we have to go through, it will affect us probably for the rest of our life. But I think what happens, like when I'm around somebody who likes to fight or is abusive in a way, or talks about hitting people or beating them, I notice I try to just go, okay, whatever, ha ha ha, because maybe they are joking, but who jokes about stuff like that? That's weird. I found myself recently, and I had a panic attack because I was around somebody like that. I literally had a panic attack, and I was like, fuck, I thought I was healed from this. I thought, you know. But what I discovered, so I called my therapist, and she goes, I don't think you're ever really healed. I think you just learned tools to deal with it. I think that it gets better and better. And she said, but I don't know if you're ever really healed. You could be. But because my trauma was so deep since childhood, it wasn't just like a month of trauma. It was like years. It could take me a minute to really get those cells. But the cool part was I had that panic attack, and then I processed it. I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital because panic attacks are really intense, but I processed it, and I decided to just go through it. And think of it logically and get the tools I needed, and I reached out for help and I got it, and then now I'm back on track. And that was yesterday. That was just yesterday I had a panic attack. And I thought, well, maybe I should make a podcast about this, because people don't know sometimes how deep the abuse is when I talk about my recovery of abuse and trauma. But it's deep. Because I feel like sometimes when we talk about our abuse, maybe people think I want pity, and that's something I have to work through. I don't want pity. I don't like pity. I'd rather have you say, wow, if she went through all that and can still smile and want to help people and be healthy and sober, then maybe I can too. And that's why I tell you these things, is to get you to understand that I don't just come on here and go, ooh, look at me, I use spirit, we're going to draw some cards, woo, woo, woo. I'm saying, man, spirit changed my life. So I went in and I stayed in Austin, Texas with Dee and Randy, who are just Phoenix Rising, and they opened their home to me and allowed me to be myself and recover there. And I was there for quite some time before I came to Seattle, and they are two of the best people I ever met in my life. And they just opened their home to me. They didn't know me that well, but they knew I was a healer and I was wounded. And I'm getting emotional because the unselfishness they showed me was, they just let me heal the way I needed to heal. And how I healed is I isolated. I stood with myself. I called on shamans from around the world to come and heal me. And asked for their help, and I humbled myself, and I listened to comedy, and I listened to Matt Kahn, and I started to really understand my spiritual self, and then I came to Seattle, and the rest is kind of history. And I tried to date a couple times here, and it was just awful. No offense to them. And one guy was just a flat out liar. The other guy, we just didn't click too well, but we're friends today. And so, yeah, it's hard. And I felt like a failure yesterday having that panic attack, and even my therapist was like, that's not a panic, that's a normal reaction to trauma. And so I still have work to do. I mean, and I think I always will. And because the abuse it was deep, but I don't want to use that as an excuse not to live a good life. And I've always been that way. I've always felt like, wow, I can fight through this, though. People have been through worse than I have, and I remember when I was in a training to be a psychic medium with spirit. They said I should find people who have survival stories. So this young guy from Congo was at the University of Washington speaking, and I went and saw him, and oh, my dog. And he told me his story about how the soldiers came in and took his family outside, and he could hear them being raped, his sister, his mother, and father. And then they came back in and they raped him brutally and killed them, but he survived. And he had to go to the hospital. They have to walk to the hospital. There was a hospital. This is years ago when the war in Congo was very, very bad. And they had hospitals and the doctors had to repair all the genitals of these people. It was just horrible. But the survivors of this were in a room, and they were laughing and singing and enjoying life. And I think when you hear stories like that, and then you hear stories like mine doesn't seem so bad. I mean, it's horrible. No child should have to go through it. But if these people, and I told myself, if people who went through that can still see the hope in life, then so can I. And so I look to others as inspiration, and I hope that my story can inspire someone out there who might have gone through the same thing, and understand that just because you chose a narcissistic partner does not mean you're a bad person or you deserved any of that abuse. You just got to fine tune yourself and learn who you are and why you chose that partner and how to avoid it next time. And but you never know, because they are charmers, but learn what you deserve, and the instant you see that red flag, don't dismiss it. And that's what I always did, and I know you do too sometimes, right? Some of you have done that, and you know what I'm saying. You dismiss the red flag, and we just can't do that. Pay attention, man. We are psychic beings, and that's how I've survived this planet, is knowing and understanding that I am a psychic spiritual being, and I'm here to help people and give them love. As long as I can concept that, anything else I can work through. And I've had to grow a lot, and it's hard, you guys, because I come from the streets, girl. I come from the streets, and I used to fight, and I haven't done it in years, and I don't want to. It's not even a part of my life anymore, because I had to survive. But so when I look at that journey and I see myself change, I think, man, if I can change and that person can change and that person can change, why can't you change? And sometimes you just need someone to relate to. And a lot of people relate to me, and I relate to them. So we share knowledge. And I think that's the great thing about YouTube and social media, is our ability to connect with each other, because a lot of times people who are abused become introverts. And we isolate, that's our survival mechanism. And so through social media, through YouTube, through these things, we can still help each other. We just might not have to be in the physical room, physically, right? So that's my goal now, is just to keep growing and sharing community and still being the best I can be. But you have to be honest about your life and who you are, and heal it. You just do. And I had to do it, and I've been doing it for years. So and recently I've had to be around someone who maybe not so positive all the time, and not towards me. I don't think that, never threatened to beat me up or anything, but just says these negative things. And it's hard when you're positive and you suffer from abuse and trauma, that to hear those things, and I think I just it just popped up on me. And I'm laughing about it today, because I'm like, my friend who saw it I was like, it had to be so ugly, because I'm just like, freaking out, panicking. And, it is what it is. I'm human. And so, but I learned from it and realized, wow, I can't, no matter how positive I am around somebody and trying to encourage them to be positive, it just doesn't always work. And I have to remember that, walk away the second you see that negative tendency. Just be polite always, and but keep away from it. You're not going to change them until they want to change. And I've had to change myself, and so I know it's possible. I know you can go from darkness to light. I know you can. I know that there are solutions to solving problems without fighting, yelling, screaming, blaming, accusing. There are solutions to everything in life with love. If we just stay focused and positive, we can achieve those things. And I believe that with all my heart. And to survive physical, mental abuse, and to have that near-death experience. I don't even think that dark room was a near-death experience. I think it was, I don't know. If anyone knows, you tell me. The weird part is, I like to think I know a lot about the afterlife, because I've been doing this work for so long, and my main thing is communicating with people who passed on. And the dark room, Spirit keeps calling it, that's like a waiting room. You're not really gonna go, because you're not ready to go, so nothing's gonna happen. You're gonna go back. So more on that later, I guess. But that being said, I just want you to know that you can heal anything, really. I believe that, because I did it, and many people do it, and it's hard. And I think that's why many people don't realize they can do it, because nobody taught them their strength. I'm shuffling my cards. Nobody taught me strength except my grandmother, and I only got her periodically in my life, unfortunately. So it's you have to be your own warrior. You know what I mean? You just do. It's fucking crazy. All right, we draw some cards just for shits and giggles. I just want to see what Spirit's saying. I felt like this was a good way for me to communicate this, and I hope Spirit agrees with me, but I just wanted to share with you. Oh, look, breathe. Look at that. Take several deep breaths and exhale slowly to awaken your energy and to release old patterns. What? We were just talking about that. Surviving trauma. Raphael. Funny. Spirit's always with us, I'll tell you. It's crazy. And so, yeah, I've had to do that. And, but I have noticed the PTSD and the fear, right? The fear coming along with that attack. Oh my God, they're coming after me. I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to be homeless. All these things are going to happen. And that's just the trauma response, which is breathe. Let the old patterns go. Crazy, huh? I knew Spirit wanted me to draw that card for a reason. They was like, draw a card. And now we're going to draw over here. Let's see what this says. So I hope all that makes sense. If you suffer trauma, email me if you want to talk about it. If you want to share your story, we can talk about it. Stay strong. That's what my grandma used to tell me. I'm getting emotional here because I think that Spirit for me, like I wouldn't be alive today, honestly, if it wasn't for Spirit. If I didn't get such strong feelings of knowing that there's an energy around us that is way bigger than we know, and it can heal us. And some people call it God, some people call it Spirit, some people call it the universe, whatever you want to call it. I call it all of that. And it's just so overwhelming to me because even though I had this rough time recently, emotionally, I know I'm going to be okay because Spirit always protects me. Because my intention is to give love. And what Spirit has always taught me, if you keep that intention and it's genuine, you're always taken care of. And I really truly believe I'm a living example of that, because most people with that childhood would have taken a different path, and some of my siblings did. And unfortunately, I don't even know how many are alive still. I really don't. I know my brother's dead, and I think my little sister's dead. And I know my older sister's alive because I'm friends with my niece on Facebook. So that's all I know. And, you know, I've been alone most of my life, and that's just how I live. And Spirit has always been my constant companion. I've always felt an energy stronger than me. And I just believe that. And that's just me, my belief system. But it has worked for me. And if it can work for you, maybe I can help you along your way. And I would love to do that. You can email me readingswithfaye@gmail.com. And I appreciate you so much for watching this. Spirit says, draw one more card, Faye. Let's give them a little bit more. Follow the moon. That means our instinct is really alive right now. Pay attention to what the moon patterns are, because we are connected. We're all connected, man. Meon. And then we have gentleness. Oh gosh, thank you, Spirit, for this, because I need this, my friends. Be very gentle with yourself at this time. Surround yourself with goals, with gentle people, situations, and conversations. Just what I needed to hear. Thank you so much for watching The Tattooed Psychic. I hope this helps a little bit. You can reach me at readingswithfaye@gmail.com. I'll see you soon. You can also follow me on Instagram, Faye the Tattooed Psychic. Bye.